Welcome everyone for this session on industrial IoT and tracking industrial assets and doing monitoring of industrial assets with narrowband IoT and low power wide area network technologies. And thank you for joining from different parts of the globe here. And we have a great set of speakers lined up here today. And starting with Camila. Camila is a business development manager at Thinkt Digital, an innovation hub with roots in the energy sector based in Berlin. And she's been responsible for the development of NKT's Track My Drum project. And she has a wide range of experience across different industries from retail, e-commerce, and the startup tech industry, and has played different roles ranging from account management through the country manager in Germany. Welcome, Camila. And we have next speaker we have is Rocky Zhang, who is the head of ecosystem partnerships at Quectel. He has over 10 years of experience in the communication and IoT industry and has been involved in various IoT disciplines, including research and development of new technologies, such as low power wide area networks and 5G. He brings a deep understanding of the IoT M2M market and its future evolution, and is in charge of the global ecosystem partnerships at Quectel. We also have with us Andrew Mazur, the CTO and the head of R&D at Klika Tech. He also has about over a decade of experience developing firmware and cloud solutions for customers and industries across the globe. As CTO, Andrew leads Klika Tech's R&D, helping clients worldwide build new models and products with a focus on business-oriented outcomes. Welcome to Andrew. And lastly, myself, the host and the moderator for this webinar. I'm Rajiv. I'm a principal solutions architect at Amazon Web Services, and I have over 2 decades of experience in the semiconductor and the networking industries. I've worked on software-defined networks and low-power devices and chipsets, and previously spent time at Intel and a couple of other telcos across the world. So what we have lined up today for the next 45 minutes or so, and before we just get started into the technology and the use cases, a quick couple of logistics. Please send Q&A questions into the Q&A tab there. The recording of this webinar will also be put out after the session is done. And we will take questions at the end of the sessions, just so that we get through the content that we have lined up to cover. So over the next 45, 50 minutes or so, we will first hear from Camila about a very important customer use case about long distance asset tracking and how some of these technologies with IoT are transforming smart cities, smart infrastructure across public and commercial space. And then we will go deeper into how these technologies are built using the Narrowband IoT and CAT M1 networking protocols and connectivity mechanisms. And Rocky will talk us through how the solutions from Quectel are helping build those use cases, along with Klika Tech's software and cloud platform architectures that are putting all of these things together in terms of very easy to use rapid development kits. So we will hear from Camila and look at some demos as well on the LPWAN kit from Klika Tech, and then discuss how these technologies come together to enable these interesting use cases. So without further ado, over to you, Camila, to talk about Track My Drum.
Sure, sounds good. Hello, everybody. So before I start talking about Track My Drum, I want to tell you a bit about Thinkt Digital. So you actually know who you are talking with. So Thinkt Digital was created 2017 by NKT Cables, which is a main cable manufacturer in Europe, based in Copenhagen, Denmark, and Germany. And that's where we come from. So it's our mothership, which means we are creating digital solution within the energy branch. I think that makes sense. Moreover, we are a team which is based in Berlin, Germany, and as well in Kaunas, Lithuania. And we're quite international. By now we're 20 people, so quite small still, but have very different backgrounds, which really helps to create great solutions and have many different ideas. And as well, we work customer centric. So we talk with the customer while we have an idea before we actually start building something, or while we build something. We talk with the customer to find out which features are necessary. Is it actually something they would use in their real life and not just something to build because it's fun, but actually where we can see the need for the customer to use it. And moreover, we work in sprints. That means every 2 weeks, we actually make any updates which are needed depending on the feedback we get from the customer. And as well, we actually see what is needed to improve the solution, and the solution is done. For example, for Track My Drum, but as you know, you never stop with having great new ideas and actually improving it. So if we move on to the next slide, I'm going to go into what are the challenges, but first of all, who are our stakeholders? So if we move on, we can see here that those are the challenges our customer face. But first of all, I think you need to know who are the customers of Track My Drum. So our stakeholders are actually cable manufacturers, installation companies, wholesalers, and utilities within the energy branch. So everybody who actually touches the drum or is included somewhere in the life cycle of a cable drum, mostly for medium voltage in this case. And when we talk to the different stakeholders, we found very fast out that there's not a lot of transparency, meaning they don't know where their drums are located, how much volume is left on the cable drum, is it stored in the warehouse or is it on the site, which leads as well to the traceability. So where is it located? Is it still on the site? Whom has the drum been used by? And as well, has it been moved from one project to another one without actually being informed about it, because there was a need of that and nobody knows actually where the drum is located on a later point. Moreover, it also helps, we also notice there's a lot of theft. Because in cable there is a material like copper, which is very valuable, which actually gets stolen. So fun fact. And then moreover, we also see a lot of inefficiency when it comes to project management, because as I noticed, or as I mentioned before, there are many different projects, and there's not always the overview if cable drums have been returned in time, if there's a rental system, or as well a lease, lease system, or as well if they have enough cable left for a certain project, if there was a damage and then a new drum needed to be sent with cable, of course, so you can go on with the project. So we noticed there's the whole life cycle, not just where's the drum located, but as well the daily issues stakeholders face when working with cable drums and cable with that. So if we move on to the next slide, I will in a second show you how the solution looks like, because if not, I'm just babbling about what actually happens within Track My Drum, what are the daily challenges. So I want to make sure you get a clear picture of how it actually looks like. So if we move on, you will see, if we start the demo we created, of a real customer experience. We will see here in the dashboard, first of all the drums that are uploaded in the system, meaning you can see in which status have they been accepted. Moreover, what is the rental period of each drum is something that needs to be returned. You can see the upcoming deliveries, and as well, last but not least, the damage report, as well with photo evidence and location, so you can act straight away and know where maybe a new cable drum is needed. In the drums overview, you see all the drums which are in the system. Moreover, on the color coding, you can see which status do they have. Is there a rental time, or do they actually need to be returned? If you press on the drums, you get right to the location. And on the left side, you will see all the drums listed. When you press on one, you can see all the detailed information about each drum. So everything which has been uploaded in the system. And if we press this again, we can see that all the drums which are uploaded in the system, which is pretty straightforward. Moreover, you can obviously filter after different scenarios. So search for a certain project, you will find them on the left. The drums that have a green dot, which you just see to the left, they actually have a tracker attached to the drum. So that means they are tracking it with a Narrowband IoT tracker. Then there's more filter options here. And then we also have the possibility just to see a data overview if you don't want to work with the map. That's also possible. Again, you can as well see how much cable is left on each drum, which is in certain statuses. And then we, of course, can look for a specific drum, which I think is quite logic. So we look for drum 26, you find all the data. Always, if you press on every drum, you will see more details. You can register your drums by uploading a CSV file, which is pretty easy. So you have a lot of data set, or you can upload each drum manually if this is needed. This makes more sense for very small companies. They actually work like this. Bigger ones work with CSV file, and large ones, let me put it like that, work with SAP integration. So we just created drum 50. And as you can see, drum 50 is in the system as it should be. There's no cable because we didn't attach any cable, which you can see on the right can be added very quickly. Here we then, in the projects overview, you can see which projects have been created and which status they have. And within the projects, you can then see the orders. You can as well see the drums in the projects. So everything which is needed to know about the project. And again, if you would click on anything, you would see the more detailed, and here are the whole cable consumption of each cable type as well. So in the order information, you can see the orders. So this is good for planning when you would like to know what is coming up next. Is my cable in time because I need to move forward with my project? Is it on the way? And then you can see the status. And as well, again, the order information if I need to return it. So here's like 6 months, it needs to return in 6 months. And then you know for planning what needs to happen. And again, the drums in the order, so you know what is coming up. And at any time, you can add a drum later to an order, because sometimes it needs to be done at a later point because you noticed it's not enough for the installation. And the deliveries, you can see everything which is coming up. So you can see here partly delivered as well. So when it works, you can see if it's coming. You can always attach a document as well, which was quite important during the COVID time, because people don't want to come too close. You can actually attach any document, which makes it quite easy. Again, here in the deliveries, you can as well filter if you want to see, have all my cables, all my drums or cable types been delivered. And in notifications, you see every action which took place with Track My Drum. So if you press on it, like we just did, you will be guided to the action which took place. So you can look more into detail what actually happened. And in the settings, you can decide, because depending on what position you have, different information is important. If you want to have a web notification, push notification in the app, or as well an email, which would make it a bit easier to work with, because obviously, as I said, a warehouse manager would need different information than people on the construction side or project manager. So if we move on to the next slide, as you've just seen, it was the web version we just showed you. The web version, yeah, it's pretty clear, can be accessible from everywhere. And then of course we have an Android and iOS app as well, which is connected with that. The web version is for the customer more on the planning side, and the mobile app is more used for the operational side. So people on the field, when they scan the QR code or barcode, they automatically take the location where the drum is located and can take any action like cut cable and so on. And when it comes to the Narrowband IoT trackers, it's an add-on. which is not needed, but it's really nice to have, because at that moment you will see at any time where your drums are located. So the Narrowband IoT tracker is linked together with barcode and of course the drum, which has all the needed information. And there you will see where your drums are located at any time. So it will be maybe once a day, depending on how often you want it, or per movement. So it's depending on what the customer would like to have. So if we move to the next slide. Obviously, this shouldn't come as a surprise. Our data is saved on the Amazon cloud. It is very important for us because especially in the European countries, but as well outside, it's always good to tell them that we actually keep our data safe, and it's GDPR approved, which is a big issue here nowadays, which I totally can understand. So that's why we chose this, and it's also very scalable to see, do we need more, do we need less, and it's nice to have. Also, as I mentioned before, we have an own IPA, so we can do actually an integration with any SAP system to actually upload the drums from the customer directly if they want that. So that should not be an issue, but it can be handled manually as well. And as well, just as a nice extra feature, we have guest users, because we noticed on the construction site, let's say they're out in the middle of nowhere in Australia, and it's a utility. It's often sometimes third-party companies who do the installation for them. So they would need to have access as well, but only for certain cable drums, which would be limited access to those ones again. So I'm going to show you in the next slide our tracker. So this is just a broad overview. So when we created the tracker, we talked to people actually in Dubai. We talked to people or companies in Canada. So we have a battery which can resist minus 35 and plus 40 degrees. To make sure that, which was a big hassle, as you can imagine, because the drums are out in the middle of nowhere, it's cold, it's warm, and we want to make sure that actually the data set can be sent to the customer. So we found a battery life which works perfectly with a Narrowband IoT tracker, which lasts and gives actually what is needed. Moreover, as I said, the messages can send as often the customer wants. Obviously, if we do it mostly at this moment that it's per movement. So the moment the drum is moving, the Narrowband IoT tracker is notifying, okay, I'm here now, and now I'm here, because drums sometimes don't move for like 3 weeks, sometimes it can be some time. And so that the battery doesn't drain after Narrowband IoT trackers, we really see an advantage here. As well, we do have, we can do geofencing with that. So if it goes out of a certain project, the customer will be informed via push notification, if it's maybe or not during working hours, that the drum is moving, which might happen in the night when somebody is stealing something, and then you might know, okay, let's go there, because this should not be the case. And in the next slide, I just want to give you a very rough overview of the benefits of using TrackMyDrum. From the customer experience, we can see in the next slide that the benefits are, for example, the optimization, real-time tracking, especially with the Narrowband IoT tracker. You can cut logistic costs, because you know, is your drum on the way, is it not on the way? As well, you can have savings up. We experienced customers who had savings up to 80%. And as well, funny enough, we also used it in Denmark for containers. So even though it's a drum tracking tool, we also used it for different scenarios. So that was very quick, a broad overview about what TrackMyDrum can do. And I will, Rajiv, back to you. That was about TrackMyDrum.
Thank you, Camilla. It's interesting how much these smart things have now become form the digital fabric of our lives all around us, whether they are smarter homes or smarter utilities that sit just around us in cities, etc. Now, thank you so much for that, walking us through that interesting use case as well as a case study. Now, moving on into the deeper dive of narrowband IoT and low power wide area networks. As the name suggests, narrowband is really a narrow band of spectrum that was actually standardized by 3GPP as part of 5G IoT specifications a couple of years ago. But why? How does it work? Why is it important? And what are the different use cases that it enables? To hear that, over to you, Rocky, to walk us through Quectel solutions for narrowband IoT.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. This is Rocky Zhang from Quectel. Yeah, very pleased to join this webinar, and I will give you some overview for the Narrowband IoT technology and our Narrowband IoT modules. First of all, let me give you some brief introduction of Quectel company, yeah, so that you can know what we are doing and what kind of company Quectel is. Actually, Quectel is very dedicated in IoT modules, and yeah, if you look at the lovely building, this is our headquarters. Based in Shanghai, and we also have several R&D centers, including in China and in Belgrade, Vancouver, overseas. 2019, last year, we are successfully listed on the Shanghai Stock Exchange, and now we have a very wide footprint worldwide. Also including APAC region, we have offices in Singapore, Thailand, Japan, Korea, Australia. Also, we are covering Europe and US regions as well. We can support you with a local supporting team. And if we look at the next slides here, yeah, now Quectel is staying at the #1 position in terms of IoT cellular industry. And in last year, we achieved around 592 million revenue with 76 million pieces shipment. I'd like to thanks to the whole industry and our customers, partners. We are invest a lot in R&D side. This year, we already have 1,200 R&D engineers. And if we look at the baseband, the cellular technology, Qualcomm is our very important partner. And now Quectel is the biggest, largest IoT customer with Qualcomm. Yeah, besides the mobile phone, now Quectel is delivering the most cellular modules. Okay, so next slides, let's look at the forecast for IoT connectivity. Yeah, this is based on Ericsson report. We can see in 2019, the cellular connection is already 1.3 billion. And it is forecast that in 2025, the number will become 5 billion. I think this is really exciting. And among which we can see 60% of these 5 billion connection will run in with LPWA technology, which means the LPWA stands for low power wide area technology, including Narrowband IoT and CAT M1. So it means the new technology, Narrowband IoT, CAT M1 technology is really attractive for those low data rate applications. Yeah, then next slides, we can see the technology evolution. Actually, all of these cellular technology is leading by 3GPP organization. And in the past, 3GPP already defined LTE, CAT4, CAT1 technology already. And in release 13, this is the first time 3GPP defined a new technology targeting to those IoT application. So in the red circle, we can see the technology including CAT M1 and Narrowband-IoT, which people usually call them LPWA. And the key point for these two technology is targeting those low data rate and which application require also low power consumption, also request enhanced coverage. So we can see in terms of the data rates, these release 13 technology optimize the data rate in a very suitable level. But for coverage, if we do some comparison, CAT M1 and Narrowband-IoT has a very good advantage comparing to standard LTE technology. There is a 15, even 20 dB enhancement. And also both technologies support low power consumption with also simplify the technology, decrease the antenna numbers. And if we look at the bandwidth, we can understand why narrowband IoT is called narrowband. Yeah, here you can see the bandwidth is very, very small. It's only 200 kHz. Yeah, and also if we look at the ecosystem, both technology, the standard already fixed in 2016. And just recently, 3GPP release 16 already put Narrowband IoT and CAT M1 in the scope of 5G, which means yeah, these two technology will keep evolution to the new level. Then next slide, we can see what kind of advantages from these two technology. First one, both Narrowband IoT and CAT M1 is a licensed spectrum technology. This means these technology, the solution will guarantee a very reliable connectivity comparing to those unlicensed spectrum. In the meantime, LPWA also give you an advantage of low cost, which comes from the optimization for the complexity in both chipset and module. Also, it supports a long battery life, depending on different data transfer scenario. Yeah, as the expert explained that for tracker, if the tracker use Narrowband IoT, it can support up to 2 years battery life. And if we look at some metering devices, even 8 or 10 years battery life is supported. And another important advantage is for the better coverage, because a lot of IoT devices, for those devices, it's very difficult to move, for devices to move to some better coverage. So the enhanced coverage from the network itself is very, very, very important. And actually the narrowband itself guarantee this enhanced coverage. And another point is for the massive connections, the capacity of the network. It's already forecast that the IoT connection number will grow very fast. So it's very, very important for the network to adapt as many IoT devices as possible. Then we can see in the next slides for the network deployment. As LPWA is a new technology, so it's rely on significantly on the operators' network deployment. Yeah, so starting from 2016, if we look at this year, 2020, the number comes from GSMA. There are already over 130 operators deploying both technology. Yeah, either Narrowband-IoT or CAT M1. Yeah, in different region for different operators, there are a little bit difference in terms of the two network. Yeah, but in general, already over 130 operators have activated the service in terms of these two technology. And next slides, let's look at the typical applications which will use these Narrowband-IoT or CAT M1 technology. Yeah, first one is public utilities. Yeah, we can understand very well about, for example, smart metering, water meter, gas meter, and some other smart city applications. For example, smart parking, for smart street lighting. Yeah, and the connectivity number we got is already very encouraged. The total number for these metering and street lighting connection already beyond 50 million. Excuse me. Yeah, 50 million connections. Yeah, this is very, very encouraged. And next application is for personal life. Including some wearable device, including asset tracking. This is also an application increase very, very fast. And third one is for industry agriculture monitoring. A lot of Narrowband-IoT module is developed with those sensors. And another interesting application is for smart home. Yeah, including some white goods. There is already commercial products, for example, smart washing machine based on Narrowband-IoT monitoring and remote control. Yeah, this is already happening. Okay, next slides. Let's look at LPWA modules from Quectel. Here, I show some overview and our roadmap for these modules. Actually, Quectel is providing two series of LPWA module. First one in the top, we have some multi-mode, including Narrowband-IoT, CAT M1, and some modules also support 2G. Which is based on Qualcomm solution. And also we have some single mode Narrowband-IoT only modules in the bottom. And at this moment, I think those multi-mode module is offering flexible solutions to our customers. Considering its multi-mode capability, sometimes including 2G fallback capability, it's very flexible for devices, for the developers to develop some IoT device. And you don't have a lot of concern to consider the signal, the coverage, because you can choose whatever the coverage you have. And in some of the region, when the Narrowband-IoT coverage is good enough, then we will suggest that you can choose some single mode module. Okay, so next slides, let's look at the multi-mode module overview here. I put some key features for these two modules. The name BG96 and BG95 indicate that these two modules is the same series. Yeah. BG96 is the first generation module supporting multi-mode, including CAT M1, CAT NB-IoT, and 2G fallback. And it supports global bands. Also, those very important protocols already integrated in our module. And you can see the GNSS, the position capability is already there in the module. And the right side is our new generation module called BG95. This module can support CAT NB2. Also the same Narrowband IoT, but this module can support NB2 capability, supports higher data rates, supporting also positioning based on the baseband. Yeah, and also the GNSS is also integrated. In terms of the protocol perspective, lightweight M2M co-op protocol is already there. And for cellular module, the certification is also very, very important. So here I listed the certification that our module already achieved. For BG96, the first generation module already very, very mature, and we are achieve mass production stage. So we passed a lot of certification from operators from regions. Yeah, the red color indicates the certification for APAC region. For BG95, also we passed those very common certification, and for some operators testing, it's already in process. Yeah, the last slides here, we show the cooperation Quectel-AWS and Klika. All the purpose is to simplify the development for our customers. So actually BG96 is already certified, tested in AWS. The module is qualified by AWS and listed in the link. You can find the link here. And our BG95 is already ongoing for the testing. And very thanks to the Klika, they made a very fantastic solution to simplify the development of NB-IoT. They are using Quectel module and integrate AWS service. Yeah, okay, that's the content from my side. Yeah, thanks to the moderator.
Yeah, thanks, Raki. So I think that picture just shows you how all of these things start coming together. We heard from the actual customer use case of how the assets are tracked, and then Raki walked us through how these modems and narrowband IoT technology actually enable and form that the backbone of that infrastructure. And then leading into the next part, which Andrew will cover, is how do these things come together through Klika Tech's device to cloud architecture. So with that, over to you, Andrew, to walk us through Klika Tech's solution.
Thank you, Rajiv. And first of all, I would like to tell a few words about the company. So it's headquartered in Miami with offices in New York City, Berlin, and Minsk. And we are a global Internet of Things development company. We co-create different end-to-end solutions, including hardware, embedded, and software parts. So we interact in many different business areas, including asset tracking, automotive, smart mobility, and we do that for middle-level and enterprise companies. So we are advanced consulting and IoT competency partner within AWS, and we also have several AWS service delivery designations, including AWS IoT Core. Let's move to the next slide. And based on our experience, the process of adding the connectivity to embedded devices is quite complex and time consuming. And in order to decrease the complexity and shorten time to market, we have created a low power Viterra network dev kit. It helps to evaluate the benefits of Narrowband-IoT and CAT M1 technologies. It helps to bootstrap the development environment for embedded developers, for the backend engineers in several minutes. And it provides different examples of sending the sensor data to AWS IoT Core for future processing and visualization in a custom dashboard. So as you can see on the slide, the dev kit consists of the several off-the-shelf components and that are plugged and glued together by Klika Tech. So we used STM32L475 IoT Discovery Kit. It has a big variety of environmental sensors. For the connectivity, we used Quectel-AWS-Klika due to its core points that were previously told to us by Raki. So all the business logic on the device has been implemented within the help of the FreeRTOS. Is the product from AWS, and it has many great built-in features to send the data to AWS in MQTT packages in a secure manner. And we also have created a custom single web dashboard that helps us to visualize the received data. On this slide, you can see the architecture diagram for the development kit. But before going into details of the dev kit architecture, I would like to mention that one of the core features of this dev kit is an extended documentation and automation scripts. Developers can bootstrap the dev kit in a minute by running up to 3 commands in the console. So these automation scripts clone the proper repositories that have source code. They install necessary dependencies and the libraries on the development machine, and they also compile the libraries and different libraries and the firmware and flash it to the STM32L475 together with AWS IoT Core certificates. And also, we include AWS CloudFormation templates that help to bootstrap the AWS infrastructure. So as you can see on this architecture diagram, so STM32L475 is powered by the FreeRTOS. The implemented business logic on the device collects the raw data from the sensors, processes, and wraps it into the MQTT messages. Those messages are sent to the cloud with the help of the Quectel-AWS-Klika. So the default working mode is Narrowband-IoT, but also if it's not available, for example, in the country, it can shift to the other solutions such as CAT M1 or eGPRS. So the connectivity is secured by TLS, and the data is ingested directly into AWS IoT Core. Then with the help of several rules and Lambda functions, we prepare it and store the data in the database. And we also have a web application that connects to the AWS IoT Core over WebSockets and receives MQTT messages. And we also use AWS Cognito that helps to authenticate the web application in order for authorized users to receive the data. And let's move to another slide, and here we can see the dev kit in action. You can see that the dev kit on the screen is bootstrapped right now, and it consists of the before mentioned components. Please note that we use an extension shield that makes it easy to connect the BG96 module. And you can connect it directly even without it by connecting different pins. So as you can see, it took several seconds for the dev kit to connect to the narrowband IoT network and send the first data to AWS Core. On the device, the blinking LED indicates that the data is being sent to AWS every 5 seconds. So now let's move our focus to the dashboard. Here you can see that the data is updating in the real time. As I mentioned, it connects over the socket connection. Now I took the device and shaked it, and you can see that the data in the graphs is updated in the real time. and it's being updated every 5 seconds. And you can see that the data has changed on the gyroscope and the compass. Yes, the web dashboard is connected through the WebSockets to AWS Core. And it is a reactive single page web application. It's also part of the dev kit, and it can be also reused in future. So it has multiple built-in graphs. So to display the time series. Now I have opened one page with the temperature data, and you can see that we can navigate the time series data in this graph. Also, I will open the accelerometer and then the gyroscope, so you can see the spikes within the data that has been collected by the dev kit. Okay, IoT solutions are always driven by the business, as you know, and these solutions are not cheap at scale. And for example, you need to equip several thousands of drums with the tracking tags, and the business always tend to decrease the capital expense. Such business decisions always affect the technical implementation and generally forces us to save money on the development of physical device. And worth noting that many IoT use cases include assets tracking, and it is overhead to have a powerful device. It would be enough even to use the resource-constrained device. And these devices come with the similar limitations that you can see on the slide, such as the processing power, amount of flash and RAM available, lack of the permanent power supply, and others. So in order to consume wisely device resources, we perform different optimizations and appropriate approach and architecture decisions. So one of the example of such decision is using the CoAP protocol instead of the MQTT. And here I would like to mention that the CoAP is a constrained application protocol. It is specialized Internet Application Protocol for constrained devices and is defined in RFC 7252. And the CoAP is a service layer protocol that is intended for use in resource-constrained devices. And it is designed to easily translate to HTTP simplified integration with the web. And we can say that core of the benefits and for the use cases, it can easily fit the use cases where you need compatibility with the HTTP and also where you need to save some resources. So we can briefly compare those grade 2 protocols, MQTT and the CoAP. So based on our experience, there are many different also technical articles on the web that comply with our experience. We can state that the CoAP uses less CPU. It also has less energy consumption with approximately up to 20 times. It has a smaller message overhead, and due to that, we can reduce the load for the basic stations, and it is a really great benefit for different cellular operators. And it also has a lower latency compared to the MQTT. And we can say that the overhead in the data throughput can be less than, more than 50% compared to the MQTT. So with this being said, we at Klika have created a small proof of concept of the application that can convert the CoAP protocol to the MQTT one. That's due to the fact that as for this period of time, AWS Core does not support the CoAP protocol. In here, we have a solution that simplifies the connectivity of constrained devices with the help of the CoAP messages and plays as, I would say, a kind of native approach for the AWS as all the serverless technologies are utilized. And the proxy fully supports the RFC 7252. And the demo of this solution can be done upon the request. That's all from my end. Thank you, Rajiv, and I would like you to take the micro.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for covering how all of these things come together. And moving on to the next slide to just show another example of a similar use case. And as the name suggests, this is Amazon Key for Business. It's a smart lock solution that works over NB-IoT again. The idea is that if you have deliveries coming into your smart building or a business infrastructure, and the authorized people can give authentication to the drivers or the courier people to come and say, okay, now you're allowed to unlock the entry lock. And this lock runs, it's a smart fob actually, that runs Quectel BG96 modem. It connects, it runs FreeRTOS as shown in that slide. It connects into AWS Cloud, authenticates the courier via Cognito authentication schemes in AWS Cloud, and then allows for the person to unlock the door and leave the parcel, for example, at your building. So this is another use case that is put together using the solutions from Quectel modems that run NB-IoT, as well as Klika Tech's cloud solution that run everything in AWS cloud infrastructure. Now, with that, I think we've covered a wide range of connectivity technologies and how they empower new use cases, whether it's in the smart businesses, smart city infrastructure, freight management, asset tracking, as Camila described, and then how these fundamental building blocks of narrowband IoT are evolving rapidly across the world. We saw the coverage that Rocky showed with the worldwide telco deployment, and how all of these things can be put together with simple device to cloud solutions using the modems from Quectel, as well as cloud solutions from partners like Klika Tech. And these are available now for deployment across the globe. I think that gives rounds up a quick solution, customer use cases, and the background technology. With that, I think we will now move into Q&A. We've got some questions coming in here, and we can leave the next slide, I think, up there for people to look at our email addresses and contact information if they want to get in touch with us later on. With that, I'll just move into the questions that have come in so far. So let me start with you, Camila. Why did you choose NB-IoT instead of Sigfox or LoRa?
So the reason is quite straightforward. First of all, with Narrowband-IoT, you have a wider range. You don't need any gateway masks or as well repeaters gateways. So you can make sure that you always have a connection using any cellular connection. As well, you have a fallback on 2G. As well, when it comes to, for example, if I compared with LoRaWAN or Sigfox, you first have to set up your own network when it comes to LoRa. So that is not very good for us because, as I said, the drums are in the middle of nowhere. And when it comes to Sigfox as well, they you cannot upload and download the what is it called, the data set. So that means when you have Narrowband-IoT, you can do both, which is also what we needed. Moreover, it has a faster module rate than what we looked into, which was quite interesting. And it's also, to be honest, it's also quite low in the cost in comparison to the other ones and what we actually need. And also we need a huge, a bigger data set than just location, because we also look into the temperature, humidity, and so on. So of course it's not just the location and actually that. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's good. Thank you. And moving on, the next question is on NB-IoT. Rocky, this is for you. Which do you see growing faster, CAT M1 or NB-IoT? And a second part to that question is, do we need to get end product carrier certifications for US and Europe and different geographies? How can Quectel help us with this?
Okay, so for the first question, actually, these two technology is growing in parallel. So if we look at the map in my slides, different region or different operators, they are deploying either technology from their perspective. For example, in US market, AT&T and Verizon, they activate CAT M1 service firstly. So the CAT M1, including the network, the application connections, is developing very well in US. Then if we look at the European market or some APAC region, including China, operators there, they are deploying Narrowband-IoT first. So in those regions, Narrowband-IoT is growing fast. And in communication technology perspective, actually these two technology is a little bit compensate because if we look at the table, the data rate, the mobility capability is not different, is not the same. So for different applications, some applications may suitable for Narrowband-IoT and some others are suitable for CAT M1. So that's also why Quectel is developing those multi-mode module to offering flexibility.
Yeah, thanks. And the other part of the question, Rocky, was how can Quectel help with end product carrier certification in different geos?
Okay, so for this topic, firstly, all of our modules will do the certification for regions and operators. And for US, the operator certification is also mandatory. So the Quectel's module will complete this certification for sure. And for product, for customer product, if the module already passed the certification, it will make the product very easy to test, to pass the testing from the operator. From our side, we are also very open to provide those documentation and certification documents to our customer to simplify their product testing.
Okay, thank you. And there was another question for you, Camila. How much cable on each cable drum is automatic? Do you track it through sensors? Are they, looks like you're tracking only the location using Narrowband-IoT. And how do you know how much cable is left?
Yeah, so we looked into different accelerators, but what you need to know with cable drums that people move it on the construction side. So they are moved from one side and they just roll them. Even though they're heavy, they roll them. And then even when it goes on the transportation, it also moves. So what we found out, even though we looked into accelerators, we did not include that at this moment because it doesn't have any add-on value for our current customer because it will not be exact because as I just said, there will be acceleration and movements, which will lead to that wrong cable amount is left. So at this moment, we made it that the cable marker, which is on the drum, cable of the drum, will be uploaded in the system. And the moment you make a picture or actually of the marker, it will automatically, or actually insert it manually, unfortunately, it will automatically calculate how much is left. Or the more old school version is that you can actually insert how much cable you took. But if you don't have an overview of that because you're just using it, then obviously the cable marker is the way to go. But with accelerator, if anybody knows anything, which is better, because at this moment we didn't find anything where it stops when we needed to stop, because it needs to be very precise, especially for project planning.
Right. Yeah, I can see that can be a challenging one. So one question to Andrew here. Can you talk about the benefits of using FreeRTOS on the edge devices with NB-IoT?
Of course. So FreeRTOS is quite powerful real-time operating system. It has been built with the help of the modular approach. So the core of the FreeRTOS has a small footprint, and then you can just add more and more features to your build. You can just enable it by simply switching the proper configurations. And it has a built-in functionality to communicate with AWS IoT Core over the MQTT, and it brings you this functionality in a secure fashion, secure manner. And it also has many different additional features and modules that support the AWS IoT Core features, such as the shadow of the devices or the air updates. That is an essential part of every IoT product. So it helps you to maintain the life cycle of the device in order to save the power, and also save the CPU cycles and use them in a smart way. That's why it brings you faster to the market. It is really stable, and it is powered by AWS and a great open source community. So that's the great tool to use.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Back to you, Camila. There's an interesting question here. What's a payment model that your customer has to pay for using Track My Drum service, sold away devices? Is it subscription, monthly, yearly?
Yes, actually, you already answered it. It's the first one. It's a subscription model. So that's what we work with, and obviously a trial in the beginning to actually get familiar with the system, so you actually see what value it brings to you. But it's a subscription model. Of course, if customers are open to do it in a different manner, we can always discuss. But obviously at this moment we are always telling it's a subscription model, and there's different let me say packages depending on how many drums you upload in the system. It doesn't matter how many users you have, it's more the amount of volume of drums within the system.
Okay, cool. Another one for Raki here. What's the, do you have any update on Narrowband IoT rollout in India? And is it free to use GNSS from Quectel for positioning?
Okay, for India, we got the information that Reliance Jio is providing the service. Yeah, but it's in a step-by-step stage. Yeah, they already kicked off. Yeah, and the question for GNSS.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. GNSS is already integrated in our modules. I mean BD96 and BD95. So it's already there, and we don't charge extra fee for this.
Okay, cool. Question for Andrew coming in here. What's the advantage of using AWS IoT Core that gives you more over, say, Google IoT or Azure IoT, and why did you choose AWS IoT Core?
AWS has a great ecosystem, and in this regards, you not only have AWS IoT Core as a service that has an MQTT broker, but as I mentioned before, it has a big variety of additional features, such as its shadow of the devices is a virtual representation of the end device, a physical device. It has different rules that you can apply on the messages coming to the AWS IoT Core. It has IoT jobs that helps you to manage the over-the-air updates in a secured manner and fashion. It has a device registry that helps you tag your different device. It also has different policies and highly integrated with all other ecosystem of AWS services such as IAM, Lambda functions, and others. Moreover, it has a native support within other AWS products such as FreeRTOS, as I mentioned before, that it's really powerful real-time operating system, and it's really widespread, and I would say it's rather one of the most popular in the world. And it has this native connectivity and implementation to use AWS IoT Core. Also, for more powered devices or more powerful devices, we can utilize Amazon Greengrass. That is yet another product, and gives you an ability to work with different constrained devices at the edge together. So work with them and connect those devices to AWS, and also brings you additional features on working with AWS even without the network connection. So this huge ecosystem and variety of features and services brings us to like the concrete decision on using the AWS.
Okay, thanks. And coming back to the question on the subscription model, or how you do the payment model for your customers, Camila, do you want to talk about how you do not only cables and other things? Yeah.
It's maybe good to know that we're quite brand agnostic. That's maybe one of the key issues to know here, even though we come from NKT and this is our main investor. We also track for any other company. So obviously it would be for any other assets. So it's not only for one company, and it's also, you can use within different companies and share the information depending if you want that. So there are a few options here.
Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. One more here for Raki. Can you talk about NB2 support in Quectel BG96, and is it important?
Okay. NB2 is not supported in BG96. So you can see BG95 can support NB2. And if we look at the device, actually both NB1 and NB2 support Narrowband-IoT connectivity and service. And a very little difference is that the data rates, there are some improvements with data rates from NB1 to NB2. And another difference is for the position features based on the base station, I mean. So NB2 can support sort of position based on the base station. And NB1, there is no capability. Yeah. Right. But for the main advantage of this technology, in the slides, you can see the low cost, the enhanced coverage, the low power consumption. It's the same. Right.
One last question back on the modem itself and the SIM options. Is eSIM available for NB-IoT?
I guess this is the question for me.
Yes.
We have discussion with operators actually for this topic. eSIM in our BG96 and BG95 module, we already reserve eSIM space in the module. And at this moment, for CAT M1, eSIM is supported by operators. But for Narrowband-IoT, it's not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's coming in the next generation of products and also certifications from GSM Alliance. Yeah. All right, I think we've run way past the hour here. Very interactive audience here. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending, sending your questions, and thanks for your patience in waiting for us to get through all the content. And then hopefully we've answered most of the questions. And if there are, I think there was some which we will connect with you offline and also answer. And as I said earlier, the recordings will be available after the webinar is done. And you have our contact information there on that slide if you would like to get in touch with us about any of these technologies, use cases, or enablement. So thank you to the speakers, Camila, Raki, and Andrew. Thanks a lot for coming and talking to everybody here. With that, thanks. We are done, and have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.